You know, Jeff Bezos, as the guy who founded Amazon, became the world's richest man in 2020 with over $200 billion in personal wealth and built one of the most powerful companies of the last 30 years. But here is the part most people don't think about. Everything he created, every risky investment, every income stream, every system that reshaped the global economy started from a single, uncomfortable financial question he asked himself in 1994. A question that might actually hit a little close to home. If I stay where it's safe, will I regret it for the rest of my life? No glamour, no flashy money, no wealthy lifestyle, no income cushion, just a long-term idea and a real fear of waking up at 80 thinking, damn, I played it too safe. This is where Invent and Wonder really starts. Not in the success, but in the uncomfortable part. The part where your finances, your future, your credit, your stability, and your comfort zone all collide. And tonight, as we go through this story slowly, in a calm, grounded tone, I'll walk you through how Bezos built Amazon using long-term thinking, financial discipline, controlled risk, and habits that anyone can study. No hype, no perfect hero narrative, just a realistic, raw look at what actually happened behind the scenes. So let's start from the beginning without rushing. Jeff Bezos was born on January 12, 1964 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. His childhood wasn't glamorous or wealthy. His family had to stay on a strict budget, save whenever possible, and stretch every dollar. Jeff grew up fixing things, breaking things, figuring out how machines worked, and slowly forming a financial mindset that valued long-term investing over short-term thrills. And this mindset, whether he knew it or not, became the backbone of every major decision he made later. Fast forward to the early 1990s, Jeff was working at D.E. Shaw, one of the top hedge funds in New York. He was making great money, had no serious debts, his credit was clean, and he was on track for a financially stable life. But then he saw a statistic. The internet was growing at 2,300% per year. And that number hit him so hard, it didn't let him sleep. Inside him, something clicked. This is going to change the economy completely. He could have stayed where he was. He was already wealthy enough to chill, save more, invest safely, or coast unpredictable income. But missing out on this rare chance seemed worse than any financial loss from taking the leap. That's where his famous regret minimization framework came from. Not a fancy theory, just an honest personal check-in. When I'm old, which choice will bother me more? He quit. Just like that. In June 1994, he walked away from financial stability and steady income. People at the hedge fund thought he was out of his mind. Friends warned him about debts, budgets, credit risk, everything, but he didn't change his mind. He and Mackenzie drove across the country to Seattle, and during that trip, he kept sketching out the details of an online bookstore. Why books? Because the catalog was huge, over 3 million titles at that time, and no physical store could carry that many. A website, though, it could hold unlimited inventory, and from a financial perspective, that meant high scalability and low cost. Even in a raw, laid-back late-night conversation, that logic is easy to follow. They rented a small house. Jeff set up a desk made of 2x4 lumber and an old door. It wasn't meant to look gritty or symbolic. It was literally the cheapest option. He was watching every dollar, planning every expense, making sure the company didn't fall into debt before it even started. In July 1994, Amazon was officially founded. And to be honest, nothing about it felt like a billion-dollar dream. Everything was manual. Jeff himself packed boxes, drove them to UPS, answered customer emails, and tried to figure out whether the tiny income Amazon brought in during the first months could even cover operational costs. But he kept going because he believed in long-term returns. He believed that if he kept reinvesting revenue into growth rather than pulling money out for comfort, Amazon would eventually scale. In 1997, Amazon went public at $18 per share. Most financial analysts said it was too high. They predicted Amazon would fail within the decade. But if you had invested $1,000 in that IPO, by 2020, your shares would have been worth around $1.6 million. That's the power of long-term compounding, something Bezos never shut up about. Then came 2000, the dot-com crash. Amazon's stock collapsed from $107 to $6. Customers were buying less. Expenses stayed high. Some employees were terrified they'd lose their jobs. Every newspaper predicted Amazon would go bankrupt. Jeff called it one of the scariest financial moments of my life. The company had debts, almost no savings, and the economy was going through chaos. But he didn't hide from the truth. He didn't pretend things were fine. In meetings, he spoke openly. Yes, we are in trouble, but panic won't fix it. That raw honesty kept the team together. He made tough financial decisions, cut costs, cut projects, adjust budgets, optimize logistics, rebuild credit relationships with vendors, and make Amazon leaner from the inside out. It was like someone trying to rebuild their financial life after a major mistake. Slow, steady, not glamorous, but effective. By 2001, Amazon hit its first profitable quarter. For the first time in 7 years, after burning through millions of dollars in expenses and investments, the company made real income. And that moment mattered, not because of the number itself, but because it proved the long-term idea wasn't just a dream. Then came 2005 and the birth of Prime. Unlimited 2-day shipping. People loved it instantly. Prime members statistically spent more money, around 4 times more annually than non-Prime customers. From a financial perspective, that was genius. Predictable yearly subscription income, plus increased customer loyalty. In 2006, Amazon launched AWS. At first, it was just cloud storage for developers, but by 2023, AWS was generating over $85 billion per year, becoming one of the most profitable tech divisions on the planet. Again, long-term bets paying off. Through all this growth, Bezos kept repeating the same principles. Think long-term. Invest heavily in experiments. Don't fear financial mistakes. Focus on customers, not short-term income. Never stop wondering. Not wandering randomly, wandering with intention, exploring, adjusting, discovering. And slowly, step by step, Amazon started climbing out of its early struggles. Jeff cut unnecessary costs, streamlined operations, and optimized logistics. He and his team kept showing up day after day, like someone carefully rebuilding their finances after a major setback. Reassessing budgets, avoiding unnecessary debts, making smart investments. It wasn't glamorous, It was steady, gritty, and methodical. And eventually, the company began to stabilize. Even after the first profitable quarter, Jeff didn't relax. He kept testing ideas, learning from mistakes, and focusing on long-term growth instead of chasing short-term gains. He understood that real financial stability, whether for a company or personal life, comes from patience, disciplined habits, and a willingness to take calculated risks. By the time Amazon started gaining real momentum, the foundations for future scaling were already in place. Disciplined financial habits, thoughtful investments, and a focus on building systems that could last for decades. That steady, methodical approach made the next stages, expanding, innovating, and shaping entire industries, not just possible, but inevitable. And as the company moved forward, the lessons about patient growth, calculated risk, and long-term financial thinking continued to guide every decision. By the mid-2000s, Amazon had millions of customers, a rapidly growing product catalog, and warehouses spread across the United States. But Bezos wasn't satisfied. He kept spotting inefficiencies, areas where processes were slow, outdated, or unnecessarily costly. He didn't want Amazon to just sell products. He wanted it to build infrastructure for the future, systems that could scale and adapt no matter what the market did. Around 2004, Amazon's internal tech team was burning through massive amounts of money building servers, databases, and storage systems to run the growing platform. Those systems were messy, expensive, and complicated. Bezos noticed and thought, if this is so hard for us, it's probably even harder for everyone else. That observation became the seed for Amazon Web Services, AWS, officially launched in 2006. At first, AWS seemed strange. Renting cloud computing and paying for storage like a utility, most companies still ran their own servers. But AWS changed the game. Instead of spending millions upfront, businesses could now pay only for what they used. By 2010, AWS was already generating over $1.5 billion per year. By 2015, it jumped to $7.9 billion. And by 2023, AWS generated more than $85 billion annually, with profit margins higher than almost any other tech division in the world. Bezos' philosophy becomes clear here. Spot inefficiency, fix it at scale, reinvest profits, and repeat. He wasn't chasing trends or flaunting wealth. He was quietly building financial stability for the company while creating enormous value for customers. Even as revenue soared, he kept thinking like someone running a startup. Cautious with expenses, obsessed with long-term growth, and disciplined about every financial decision. By the mid-2000s, Amazon also focused heavily on customer loyalty. Prime, launched in 2005, offered unlimited two-day shipping and exclusive perks. Data showed that Prime users spent roughly $1,400 per year by 2018, compared to $600 per non-members. That predictable subscription income became a core revenue engine, stabilizing cash flow and providing a reliable base to reinvest in growth. Meanwhile, Amazon kept expanding physically. Fulfillment centers, sorting hubs, and delivery routes multiplied. Bezos emphasized that customer obsession, not profit obsession, should drive decision-making. Yet, financial logic followed naturally. Happier, fast-served customers spent more, generating larger income streams. Bezos also introduced operational frameworks to maintain agility. He differentiated between Type 1 decisions, high impact, irreversible, and Type 2 decisions, reversible. Type 1 decisions required careful analysis, while Type 2 decisions encouraged quick trial and learning from mistakes. These systems allowed Amazon to scale without becoming slow or bureaucratic. Team structure was another area Bezos optimized. He believed small, empowered teams performed better, leading to his two-pizza rule. If a team can't be fed with 2 pizzas, it's too large. Smaller teams cut communication delays, kept costs low, and accelerated experimentation, critical for long-term financial and operational efficiency. Experimentation became part of Amazon's culture. Some projects worked, many failed, but Bezos encouraged transparency. If you want to invent, you have to be willing to fail. From a financial perspective, this was smart risk management. Taking measured risks created opportunities for high return innovations. Product diversification followed. Kindle, released in 2007, redefined book distribution. Digital books cut inventory costs and delivery expenses, boosting margins and providing predictable revenue. By 2011, e-book sales exceeded physical book sales, providing the value of combining hardware, ecosystem, and recurring income streams. Amazon Fresh, Amazon Logistics, and Prime Video expanded the company's footprint further. By controlling the supply chain and diversifying revenue, Bezos insulated Amazon from market volatility. Each addition wasn't a flashy move, but a calculated financial decision designed to increase stability, margins, and long-term value. In 2017, Amazon acquired Whole Foods for $13.7 billion, gaining over 460 physical stores and direct access to a higher income customer base. Critics questioned the purchase, but the strategic value was clear. Integration to the grocery sector provided distribution advantages and exposure to a $800 billion US market, turning an expensive acquisition into a long-term income engine. Throughout all this, Bezos remained open about financial realities. Employee criticism, operational challenges, or market pressures were met with data-driven responses, adjustments to budgets, and careful planning rather than hype or emotional reaction. Day 1 thinking remained central. Avoid Day 2, which he defined as complacency, slow decision-making, and financial decay. Big failures were acceptable as long as they were calculated, and small, consistent gains compounded over time. That mindset translated not only to business, but also to the principles of financial stability, investment, and risk management that Bezos valued personally and professionally. By July 2021, Bezos stepped down as CEO. Amazon had a market cap of $1.7 trillion, employed over 1.3 million people, and served more than 200 million Prime subscribers worldwide. Transitioning to executive chairman, he focused on strategic initiatives like Blue Origin, while leaving day-to-day operations in capable hands. Timing that reflected careful planning and foresight. By the end of 2020, Amazon's revenue reached $386 billion. Yet Bezos maintained frugality, not cheapness, but prudent management, careful budgeting, and disciplined reinvestment. Financial stability wasn't a single milestone. It was a habit maintained daily through smart choices, patience, and long-term thinking. Bezos didn't build Amazon overnight or with one genius idea. He built it with thousands of small, deliberate decisions, each guided by financial discipline, risk awareness, and a focus on long-term value. The company's massive scale and wealth were the result of repeated, careful action, not luck or sudden inspiration. Bezos wasn't trying to create the biggest company. He was trying to build something that would outlast him. And that kind of thinking only works when you understand time, money, customer behavior, and your own limits. Even as Amazon had become a global powerhouse, Bezos never lost sight of the idea that growth wasn't guaranteed, and that financial stability had to be earned every day. Revenue streams could fluctuate, markets could shift, and competition could strike hard. The company's long-term success wasn't about resting on laurels. It was about constantly experimenting, reinvesting, and thinking several moves ahead. Around 2018, Amazon was generating hundreds of billions in revenue. But Bezos still treated the company as if it were a startup in terms of discipline. Budgets were scrutinized, projects were analyzed down to every possible cost and potential return. Financial mistakes weren't hidden. They were studied, learned from, and used to guide future investments. That mindset, repeated over decades, created layers of resilience that even the most seasoned investors could admire. One of the clearest examples of this approach was Amazon's logistics network. Bezos didn't just want to ship books faster. He wanted the company to own the infrastructure for deliveries. By 2019, Amazon operated over 175 fulfillment centers worldwide and had built its own fleet of aircraft and delivery vehicles. This required enormous upfront investment, billions in capital expenditures, but it allowed Amazon to reduce reliance on third-party carriers, control costs, and improve customer trust. Each dollar spent was scrutinized, but the returns were measured over years, not quarters. Meanwhile, technology remained a key level for financial advantage. Alexa, the smart assistant launched in 2014, was more than a consumer gadget. It integrated into Amazon's ecosystem, encouraging purchases, subscriptions, and voice-controlled shopping. Every experiment, hardware, software, or service was evaluated for its long-term revenue potential, even if it meant bleeding money initially. Bezos treated short-term losses like an investing habit, temporary pain in exchange for exponential long-term growth. By 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated online commerce, and Amazon saw unprecedented demand. Revenue jumped dramatically, exceeding $386 billion for the year. Yet Bezos didn't lose his approach. He kept emphasizing frugality and careful reinvestment. Warehouse expansions, automation, and AWS infrastructure received funding because each investment had a clear long-term payoff. This is a recurring theme. Financial stability isn't about hoarding wealth. It's about channeling it into systems that can sustain and multiply over time. Prime continued to expand its influence. By 2021, Amazon boasted over 200 million subscribers globally, each generating predictable income that could be reinvested. But Bezos didn't consider this a finished system. Data-driven tweaks, new features, and expanded services ensured that subscription revenue kept growing while customer loyalty strengthened. That disciplined approach to recurring income mirrored personal financial habits. Diversify income, reinvest, avoid unnecessary expenses, and always look for compounding opportunities. Bezos also maintained the habit of calculated risk-taking. Not every project worked, and failures were part of the financial equation. Amazon Go, Fire Phone, and other ventures failed to meet expectations. But each failure provided lessons, insights, and sometimes unintended benefits for other projects. He treated each setback like an investor treats a losing trade. Document what went wrong, adjust strategy, and move forward without panic. Blue Origin, Bezos' aerospace venture, is another example of long-term financial discipline. Unlike companies chasing quick wins or IPO buzz, Blue Origin's progress was measured in decades, not months. Investment decisions were deliberate, budgets closely monitored, and risk assessed carefully. While some criticized the pace, Bezos treated every dollar like a tool for future stability, not a ticket for instant prestige. Under Bezos' guidance, Amazon perfected the combination of aggressive experimentation with disciplined reinvestment. AWS continued to scale. Prime expanded internationally. Logistics improved, and new services like Amazon Pharmacy and cloud-based solutions generated diversified income streams. Each decision was tied to careful analysis, expected costs, potential revenue, margin projections, and long-term impact. Bezos also used transparency as a financial tool. Investors, employees, and partners were kept informed through data-driven updates. This honesty built trust, improved decision-making, and allowed Amazon to secure favorable financial arrangements, whether negotiation with vendors, managing debts, or expanding into new markets. Trust itself became a form of financial capital. By 2023, Amazon's ecosystem included retail, logistics, cloud, subscription services, hardware, entertainment, and healthcare initiatives. The company generated consistent income from multiple sources, reduced vulnerability to economic shocks. Bezos' approach demonstrated how disciplined financial habits combined with smart investment, controlled risk, and reinvestment could turn a single idea in a garage into a multi-trillion-dollar enterprise. This story underlines another crucial principle. Scale amplifies both success and mistakes. By maintaining rigorous control over budgets, investments, and financial experiments, Bezos ensured that growth reinforced itself rather than introducing instability. Small oversights at scale could be catastrophic, so meticulous attention to financial details became essential. Even now, the legacy of those decisions continues to influence business and personal finance thinking. Long-term planning, diversified income streams, disciplined budgeting, and risk management aren't just corporate lessons. They are applicable to anyone looking to build financial resilience and wealth over time. Bezos didn't chase wealth for its own sake. He built structures and habits that allowed wealth to grow naturally, sustainably, and predictably. And that's the essence of Invent and Wonder. Patient, methodical, financially disciplined, and raw. It's a story of taking risks, learning from mistakes, and building a foundation so strong that even massive growth doesn't break it. Jeff Bezos' path shows that with long-term vision, disciplined financial habits, and relentless experimentation, anything, even a small garage startup, can evolve into a global force.